So at about 4 o'clock, after being awake for 2 hours, I took a bath. And that helped relieve the pain, and I probably fell asleep about half an hour after that and slept for another 2 hours until 6:30. Love humbles you, right? You think you're in control of it, but you're not. Same thing with sickness. It totally humbles you. You think you're in control of your body, and you're not.
My life before I got sick was great. I was working as an attorney at PBS at my dream job. I was also getting a master's in creative writing at Johns Hopkins. I was sculling in the Potomac some mornings. Other mornings I was biking 14 miles to work. I had just run 2 5Ks. I was training for my first 10K. So I was 33 years old and in the prime of my life. And then I got sick. I didn't cope very well at the beginning because I really didn't want to accept what was actually going on. I saw a lot of doctors. I was diagnosed with things. I would try what I was diagnosed with, whatever the pill was, whatever the treatment was, and I still wasn't feeling any better. Before I got a diagnosis, I would go to the health section and just not know which section to go to. There was huge shelves for breast cancer and huge shelves for rheumatoid arthritis, but I didn't know where to go because I didn't have a name. I didn't have a category. Finally, my uncle said to my parents, "Why don't you take her to the Mayo Clinic?" It was a full year after I'd been sick. I had some very painful tests, a nerve conduction test, which literally was like torture because they poke you with needles to make sure your nerves are conducting the pain signals correctly. I was finally diagnosed in August of 2001. I had to wait 4 months for that appointment. He was a research doctor in New Jersey at Robert Wood Johnson. And I remember when I saw him and I brought in my thick notebook that he was like, "Well, you've had this test done, you've had that test done, you've done all my homework, I know what you have. It's fibromyalgia." And I was like, "What?" Couldn't pronounce it, I couldn't figure out how to spell it. I didn't believe him, actually. My mother was more excited on the way home than I was. She said to me, "Aren't you excited? You finally have an answer," because we'd been at the Mayo Clinic and had gotten no answers. And I said to her, "I'll get excited once I get my life back." I was so naive about illness. I didn't realize there was a difference between a treatment and a cure. And I thought the hard part was figuring out what I had. I thought once I figured out what I had, they just would give me the pill and I'd get my life back. That's what I said to my mother. But it didn't work out that way. I'll try anything as long as it works. And I still will try a new drug if it comes onto the market. It's approved by the FDA. I've also tried a bunch of different painkillers, Vicodin, Oxycodone, codeine, Percocet. I've also tried mood enhancers. I've tried muscle relaxers. I've tried sleep enhancers. Either they didn't work for me or the side effects were such that I couldn't tolerate them. If they worked, I would take them. I'm not philosophically against big pharma. I think they do some immoral things, but if it works, I'll take it. And so I would email him and we were constant contact, and I said, "I'm still not doing any better. I'm still not sleeping. I still am in a lot of pain." And he would just tweak it a little bit for a couple more days and then tweak it again for a couple more days. 9 months we did this. I won't even mention some of the crazy stuff I tried, but that's what you do. When you're desperate, you'll try anything. It's a lot of snake oils too. The hardest part about having an invisible illness is that I often look a lot better than I feel. But the problem has been that people really just don't understand.
Yeah, the bumps hurt, so no, I'm going to go very slow. Thank you.
They think that you look beautiful or that you look tan or that you look great, that you can't possibly be in excruciating pain, or that you have to leave and go home and go to sleep, or that you can't go do the things that they want you to do with them. So I constantly feel like I'm having to explain myself or rationalize that. I'm ashamed of 2 things. That I'm not able to work. I'm worried people think that it's something I'm choosing to do. It's really boring not to be working, and it's not great. I wish I was well enough to work in a regular job. I'm also ashamed of the fact that after my mom died, I wasn't paying close attention to the drugs that I was taking. I was given a new drug. And I'd always been very careful before, and this particular drug, as many do, has the side effect of weight gain. And I was distressed about that because I knew that it was not healthy to put on the weight, number one, but number two, it would be very, very hard to lose when I was so fatigued and so weak and so tired all the time. I actually had gone into the doctor and said, I've had 14 days of not sleeping. I'm in excruciating pain. It was the knifing pain. And I said, you have to put me in a coma, like just knock me out. I don't care what you have to do. And he said, well, there's this pain patch. It was approved 6 months ago. I mentioned it last time you were here. He's like, you want to try it now? I was like, yep, give it to me. I'm ready to try it. That's how desperate I was. So I went home and I slapped that thing on, and within hours, I was in the shower trying not to throw up. I was sitting on the stool in the shower thinking, you're not going to throw up, you're not going to throw up, you're not going to throw up. And then I thought, well, that's not a positive thought. Maybe you just need to throw up. And it's not the end of the world. If you throw up, you're just going to throw up. You're not going to die. You're just going to be throwing up. And as soon as I thought that, I did throw up. And it was devastating because I had been in excruciating pain for 14 days before then, and I had pinned all my hope on this drug, and it didn't work. There are times when I'm not well where being in a loud restaurant or being around a lot of people it feels like nails on a chalkboard. It's just, I feel like I have no skin and I just absorb everything. And so it's very, very, very difficult. I'm also not as much of a perfectionist as I used to be. I now go to bed with the dishes undone. I sometimes start my day and not make my bed. I've gotten used to having things just not getting done. And that's very different than the way I used to be. It's so hard to talk about. I miss my mother. Nobody gives a shit about you as much as your mother does. Nobody. It's hard to go back to that time because I really thought that it was going to be short. I did not think that it was going to be 15 fucking years. The important thing for me was always to be doing something. The day after I was throwing up on the floor after that pain patch, that was when I finally called this latest acupuncturist, because you just have to keep moving forward. You can't completely give up because then you'll just want to commit suicide. You always have to be moving forward and trying new things. I actually tried several different acupuncturists before I found one who I actually felt was helping me. She's been great. A girlfriend actually had invited me to go on a yoga retreat, and I'd never been on a yoga retreat before. So I went, and it ended up being a week that completely changed my life. That was where I first learned how to meditate, and during one of the meditation sessions, my pain actually completely disappeared, and that was shocking to me because here I had been trying all these drugs for 9 months, and all I did was sit there and breathe. And it didn't happen all the time, but the fact that it happened at all was completely gobsmacked me. And it also gave me a sense of agency over my body that I hadn't had in a long time. The meditation practice has been pivotal in sustaining my existence and wanting to continue to live. It helps me crack open a door so that some light can come in and remind me that it's not always going to be the way that it is in that moment. My greatest achievement since I've gotten sick by far was getting certified to teach yoga. I was already doing yoga when I got sick, and I'm really grateful for that because it was not something I would have picked up after I got sick. It would have been something I would have thought I couldn't do. And I'm glad, because yoga has been so helpful to me in terms of coping with my illness, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too, that it enabled me then to go and share it with other folks. And it's my greatest passion. One translation of guru or yoga teacher is a darkness dispeller. I love that translation because yoga dispelled so much darkness for me, and that's what I hope to do for other people in creating this website, is dispel the darkness that they have in their life. You can adapt your life to this new way of being and this new way of living. I love the water. I've always loved the water. I was free and liberated, and it was daring. And it still feels that way.